All right, it's your boy Big Rich with another Ruckus Radio report. First of all, happy Friday to everybody. We finally made it, right? To the end of the week. Mob boss who inspired other infamous turncoats dies in witness protection. The Mafia Big, who was the first of his generation to spill the mob's most precious secrets about its extensive reach into legitimate businesses, labor unions, and illegal rackets in New York, has died. Alfonso Little Al DiArco, who went from heist artist on the post-war Brooklyn streets to acting boss of the Lucchese crime family before turning government witness in 1991, was 86. He died in witness protection earlier this month from complications due to kidney disease. DiArco's decision to abandon his mafia oath helped inspire other high-ranking turncoat mobsters, including Salvatore Sammy the Bull Gravano, right-hand man to John Gotti, and a dozen others. All told, their collective testimony sent scores of mobsters to prison and helped dislodge New York's Cosa Nostra from some of its richest prizes. By the time DiArco and other cooperators were done testifying, the powerful economic and criminal presence in the city known as the Five Families had been reduced to a small group of aging wise guys assisted by young wannabes who displayed little talent for organized crime. Most of those subsequent defectors, including Gravano, were facing the likelihood of life in prison when they decided to cooperate. DiArco, however, was not under indictment for anything. The feds didn't even know much about him, but he had more immediate reason to want out. At the time, Little Al believed that the murderous chieftains at top of the Lucchese family hierarchy, a duo of Vic Amuso and Anthony Gaspipe Casso, had marked him for death, a threat that extended to his wife and children as well. DiArco had first-hand knowledge of how suddenly and viciously Amuso, the official boss of the family, and Casso, his underboss, could turn on their longtime partners in crime. As their hand-picked acting boss, DiArco had been ordered by Amuso and Casso, both of whom were fugitives from racketeering charges at the time, to arrange the murders of a dozen men aligned with the Lucchese family. All were alleged by the bosses to be potential informants. In a 3-year spasm of violence between 1988 and 1991, Lucchese gunmen killed a total of 17 men, their bodies left sprawling in the underground garages, dumped into landfills, jammed into car trunks, or secretly cremated. At the boss's direction, a dead canary was stuffed into the mouth of one of the Lucchese veterans after he was assassinated in Brooklyn. The bird was supposed to send the message that the victim had been an informant, but that was untrue. In fact, most of the death sentences ordered by Amuso and Casso, DiArco came to realize, had little to do with mafia disloyalty. Instead, most of the murders were an effort to eliminate potential rivals and seize their often lucrative crime operations. His decision to switch sides was also spurred by outrage at what DiArco, a firm mob traditionalist, viewed as violations of long-standing mafia rule, including targeting family members of mobsters. Just a few weeks earlier, Lucchese soldiers had been dispatched to threaten the lives of elderly parents of a mobster the bosses feared was turning on them. DiArco soon became convinced that his number was up as well. While attending a business meeting of Lucchese captains in a posh Midtown hotel, he spotted a mobster secretly stashing a pistol in the bathroom. Believing he was being set up to be killed, DiArco blurted goodbyes and bolted from the hotel room. The next morning, he sent his wife and 2 daughters and youngest son away and fled with his older son, Joseph, who was also a crime family member. From a hiding place on Long Island, DiArco reached out to the FBI. Agents soon scooped him up and began debriefing him. Out poured a vast stream of mob knowledge. DiArco detailed the loan shark arrangements, the union locals and the mobsters who had controlled them, the monthly payoffs from each construction companies, the hierarchies of each crime family, even a list of more than 24 factions in the Sicilian mafia. He stood just 5'7", hence his nickname, and had an accent straight out of the Dead End Kids. He served 2 terms in prison, including a stretch in Sing Sing for stolen stock certificates in the early 1960s. That experience, along with a late federal conviction in the 1980s for heroin sales, served as a kind of graduate school for the aspiring gangster. Throughout, he had paid close attention to the business of the mafia, and many of his stories shocked government officials. He told how the mob had divided the proceeds from the scrap iron generated by the demolition of the old elevated West Side Highway. The mob also had profited from the construction of a huge nuclear power plant. Mob penetration of the construction industry remained so deep, he told him that even a concrete contractor then working on a federal project and who had allegedly been vetted for mob ties was paying $20,000 each month to his crime family. Quote, he was the best, Michael Campy, a former FBI supervisor who spent 20 years chasing wise guys in New York and was one of those conducting the debriefing sessions, told us for the book Mob Boss, a biography of ARCO. Quote, Al ARCO was the most significant made member to cooperate. He really built that bridge for others to cross. Born in North Brooklyn on July 28, 1932, Al ARCO was raised a few blocks from the Navy Yard, then a hub of underworld hustles. An uncle was in the mob, but his father was a businessman running a small basement dye shop for the garment industry. Above the shop, however, a local hoodlum had a bookmaking operation, and the youngster was awestruck by the well-dressed men who came and went. Among those who tutored him was an old-school mobster named Vincenzo Jimmy Alto Altamari, who ran high-stake crap games and whose headquarters was a cafe on Mott Street. Be low-key, don't stand out were among the lessons Altamari taught him, ARCO later said. He took the lesson to heart. Unlike flashy mafia contemporaries such as Gotti, who sauntered through the Little Italy streets with an entourage, ARCO lived modestly and conservatively. His residence was a government-subsidized apartment on Spring Street. Until his death, he remained loyal to his wife, Dolores Pellegrino. After he changed sides and testified for the government, prosecutors who worked with him were steadily impressed with both his uncanny memory and his insistence on holding to what he knew. In a string of appearances as a witness for the government, ARCO delivered devastatingly detailed testimony that helped win convictions against leaders of all 5 crime families. Prosecutors credit him with helping to convict more than 50 mobsters. This is your boy Big Rich, and it's another Ruckus Report. Thank you for listening. Like, comment, share, and of course, subscribe.